Welcome to this session, Borderline Genius, where creative paths cross, sponsored by Coimisiún Meán's Shared Island Initiative. Budgets have never been easy, but it feels that there's increasing pressure on them. And one possible solution, work across borders, bring other funders and broadcasters. And we have a panel today who are very experienced in this field, come to share some of their stories, what has worked, possibly what hasn't, and hopefully pass on some tips, how they overcome those challenges and maybe some advice towards the future. So my name is Llion. I'm going to be chairing the panel, and I've worked with some of the panel already internationally, and it's opened my eyes, working on cross borders. Not just the challenges, but the potential to it. What it can achieve for you individually as a companies and as broadcasters. So I'll start with you, Siobhán. We're going to play a clip first.
Nick Heaslip. I'm Detective Sergeant Claire Wallace of the Criminal Assets Bureau. Something changed in Heaslip when I mentioned the 27 million. God! He was terrified, and it wasn't us he was scared of. See if you can find any links to bank accounts in the Basque territory.
Every link between this investigation and the murders in Bilbao points to Nick Heaslip alone.
Don't make me ask you again. You don't understand who you're dealing with.
I found a dead man. It's possible that he was killed because he was involved in Nick's operation.
My husband didn't have any operation. He certainly never had 27 million euros.
He did.
How did your case lead you to Bilbao?
We were investigating an Irish businessman. We ran a thorough risk assessment and threw up no red flags.
There is always a paper trail, no matter how smart these guys think they are.
I'll tell you exactly what you need to do.
The killer is the connection to Heaslip, the murders, everything.
Don't start asking questions that you don't want the answer to.
So, Siobhán Bourke, I'm a TV drama producer. I've been working in this area for about 25 years. I have a company called Saffron Pictures, and together with a company called Moon, we produce TV drama. We're always originating the dramas. We spend many years in development. We started Hidden Assets in maybe 2019. We were looking for a drama that would have some uniquely Irish components, of course, and we found that in Cab. Cab is uniquely Irish, and we felt that for it to work, we were going to have an international component, and there would be a case where the Cab team travel abroad. And that, of course, brought us across borders and to lots of countries. Canada in the first instance, and then more recently Belgium and Spain. Is that enough?
Yes.
So lots of partners. I think there was a nice laugh. If you wanted to laugh, you could have laughed at the last frame up there of all the funders. We can talk about that, but lots of funders. It's an RT commission, I should say. It's an RT commission.
You do a lot of plates juggling.
Yes.
Yeah. And Larry, so we can play the second clip.
Detectives investigating the death of Sinead Connolly are appealing for witnesses who come forward.
D.I. Regan, Garda Síochána.
ECI Boyd, pleased to meet you.
No, you're not.
Excuse me?
Belfast and Dublin want this investigation to showcase positive cross-border cooperation between our two forces.
You're in the Republic of Ireland now.
Down here in Alcott, just another member of the public.
I don't like this any more than you do. But the sooner we cooperate, the sooner we can go our separate ways. We all just want to know how it's going to work with your man over here.
At least there's one good thing about you being here.
Stop.
They hate you more than they hate me.
You're still here.
Don't remind me.
I'm sorry to inform you, your husband Fred was found dead this morning.
You need to shut your mouth when the police ask about Conor Byrne.
Son of a murdered RUC sergeant now works for Garda Síochána.
What do you know about Patrick Cormac?
There's
What did you do in Dublin that got you banished to the world?
Somebody I helped put away is out in parole. I'm stuck here.
Sorry for your loss, but I swear to God, I didn't kill your father.
Believe it or not, I'm trying to protect you.
You protect me from what?
You need to make this work.
I'm Larry Bass, run Chinnawill Productions. We're an Irish production company based in Dublin, and occasionally we operate from Belfast. We're pitching in London. But every show we do is a co-production, because we'll never fully fund, certainly dramas of that scale, solely in Ireland. That was commissioned by ZDF in Germany, pre-sold in the US. It was a co-production with a UK company, Stephen Vember's company, and written by Northern Irish writer, John Forte. And we're now in the process of trying to work the puzzle of financing Series 2, which is even harder than Series 1 in an ever-changing world.
Why is Series 2 going to be harder? The thought of building on that success would be straightforward.
One would think. So ZDF want the series now to go to 5 or 6 seasons. That's the one they want to plan it. It was the highest rated acquisition on ITV, even though it was the second window in the UK. But the US partner were Roku, who are more a tech platform than a channel. And even before we delivered, they changed their strategy on pre-buying European drama. So we have to re-figure out the US part. And that then triggers the conversation with the distributor, who are Lionsgate. And my lesson from dealing with a major distributor like Lionsgate, when everything goes well, they're okay. When anything changes, they're a fucking pain in the arse. Mm-hmm. And you can quote me anywhere on that.
Thank you. And is the... I'm trying to think of a pickup to do that. And the next clip is ready to go. So it's Alberto, and we'll play his clip next.
Tenho nas mãos caso que envolve empresas, políticos, a polícia. A minha casa em Seara foi assaltada. Isto não é uma alucinação minha.
Tu não vais comprovar nada.
Não te deixes atrapar pelo passado. Sabia que na última década houve uns 20 fogos de pequenas dimensões nesta zona. Mais de um terço tem origem desconhecida.
A polícia tem essas pessoas todas identificadas. Agora, um dos problemas é conseguir culpá-los, não é?
Então já é um suspeito.
Não, isto não é nenhuma especulação, garanto.
Lucia, tu não foste para Seara fazer investigação, tu foste para aí cobrir um incêndio.
Acaba de estar uma jornalista na minha casa fazendo perguntas.
Só tinhas de fazer as coisas direitinho.
Eu digo a cara, não penso deixá-lo assim.
Conta-me a puta verdade. Deixaram uns papéis no para-brisas. O incêndio foi provocado. Eu não venho a contar que arde a monte. Venho a contar por quê.
What you just watched is TV series about the wildfires in Galicia, between Galicia and Portugal. It happens every year. It was very unlucky because we wanted to do some promotion, and the same year that we were broadcasting it, it was in the summer, and on the region we were shooting, it was all burned. So we wanted to tell a very ambitious story, and it couldn't be done with just one party. So we told it with Galician television support and RTP, so the Portuguese television. And then, as a little bit like with Siobhán, at the end, you onboard a lot of partners, URIMASH, ZDF, local support. Yeah, I work for a small production company, and always our projects are quite ambitious. So at the end, we are forced to work in co-productions, and everything we've done was so far with different models, but with international co-productions.
And the first 3 examples have been in drama, and the next will be in factual with Máire from Below the Radar. We'll play the next clip, please.
Portach a thugann muid go siimplí agus tá an dúródach go ón an nnéireann. Ach buinn scraite agus tucaí tú ar thion de intais móra an nádar. Móin. Tá taló pórtaí le fáil ar fud an dóin, ó na tíortha ó thuaidh sios a ad leis na tropaí ó dheas, agus níos fuide a rís agéin. Clúdaíonn siad tríomh an géad den flaanid.
Is síomhann a fear hábhatach éad na pórtaí deich méadar sin 10 míle bliana don fórtach.
Sa trais seo, arcaimid ar mar a bhuainlí na pórtaí ar gultar, ar bhéineolacht, agus mar a chíomhní siad ar stair. Agus beimid a gar chun tosaí fásta ar an ról a bheits ag pórtaí na hÉireann agus pórtaí an dóin in san chach atá róine be techaí an chinna déine a hawa. Sa chláir seo, clinimid níos smó faoi an flamda a chruchaí ar dáilte pórtaí.
J'ai besoin de la sphinx, c'est ça qui va faire l'écosystème.
Na contartí a bhaineann na tailte pórtaí a bhiltear. Agus a chóirú agus tarigna bhar hailte pórtaí.
I get to peer into this secret below-ground world.
Is sársan lorg atá fácaigh ar sínsir ar halamh dain, agus tá rian féin fácaigh an máisteach ar chinúnt an duine éanair agus ar híomhíaltachtaí am a dóla. Ní heanúnta sa mar sin go déanann bháisteach go smúr I goltúr agus I greidirh an dain go fóil.
3 billiún bliain le aithint, agus a sin a tháinig an tuisce lig atá ar an dóin in sna éimhneatha. It's na farigi, it's na lochan.
Sa trasha bet sa cahaf súl a lorg a ghagan an bháisteach a saoil mór, agus fisró de clí go déan an bháisteach san go crí an choltúr agus an chreidirh fuair a dain. Líonann sí ainteacha, lochanna agus taisce muid an dain, go dain is butha raimíd a tuisce a ghólamíd. Caithíonn sí an na hirnatha an lá, rud a ghagan gasar bara agus rathar stoc.
雨对人类的这个生存和发展是有非常重要的这个意义的。
Sa chláirsa, cuireadh saithin phobal ó cheire háard an dain. Pobal go bhfuil dúchláán an athraíide áthúrtacha, siad a buint an chuid is fearr as an máisteach agus as an sláthar isce tá gainn.
Is mis mai Bhreathnach agus mis ganasar chlártha Gaelic in Below the Radar an seo mel farste agus orcamine na chlártha agus gafrid ó híh chlártha agus Lína. Mai Bhreathnach, I run the Irish Language Unit in Below the Radar here in Belfast and look after all Irish language content across Below the Radar and our sister company Fine Point Films. So Below the Radar are on the go for 20 years, but we started making Irish language programs about 2009, And it was 5 years ago that we started doing international co-pros with Llion, as it happens. It came from the Celtic Media Festival, so here's where it all starts. I always say that the first time we met, we were both nominated for the sports category here, and we won Best Sports Doc, but Llion won the Spirit of the Festival. So it was afterwards when we chatted, and as you get to know people, and it was over the year or two after that that Llion was working with Rain Stories, which and then was looking for partners, and we came on board as the Irish partner, and that was our first taste of international co-pros. We had 7 groups on board, funders, 4 production companies filming across Ireland, Scotland, China, Kenya, the US, UAE, all during the pandemic. So it turned out slightly different to what we thought it might at the start, and all the challenges that went with that. So we started on that. We've moved on, and it's building relationships, and we moved on then and did that second one that you saw there with Pete, where we had partners in Scotland and in Canada for that, and now we're currently working on our third on mountains around the world. They're changing as they go, and we're learning as we go. But I think it's just building relationships at festivals like this, where you can you meet and meet different companies that you might be able to work with. So that's where we're at the moment. We're right in the middle of production for our third.
You've seen all the fabulous examples of what can happen with co-productions, but there's a long journey before then. Alberto, if we could start with you, what do you think are the essentials to get that success on the screen?
I think everything starts with a story, and you want to tell a story. And then you need to find the right partners. Yesterday, discussing, we were talking about the fact that I think it was Larry that said it's a marriage. So it's different stages. So first, you get to meet the partner, as Marie just said, these kind of festivals, these gatherings, it's the best way to be face-to-face and to pick up on some cues, and you realize that you will like to work with this person because this person is nice, not because he's competent or the previous works that he's done or she's done. So you start with a story, and then you find a partner that you would like to work for some reasons. And then you start working together, and then you start, slowly. I think most of you would have faced that thing. First is a deal memo, and then you have to write a deeper contract, and then another partner comes in, so you have to review the whole contract. So foreseeing that it will be a hard path, it won't be easy. You want to be surrounded by people that you like in a personal level, I would say.
And Siobhán, could you develop that a little bit about the personal relationships? We understand it's key, but what do you do to make it work?
So we have, I suppose, financing partnerships, and in our case they are RT and Acorn and Screen Ireland and DCD Rights, which bring in the BBC. And all of those relationships are all, to a greater or lesser extent, based on editorial relationships as well as financial ones. And then we get the producing partnerships. And the producing partnerships are with our Belgian colleagues, Putin Kino, or in Spain with the ITV, the broadcaster, and the local producer. Those relationships take quite a long time to develop. To do season 3 of Hidden Assets in Bilbao, we were in Bilbao, we did the first story room in 23, we went there in 24, and we weren't meeting location scouts in our first meeting. Our first meeting was actually with the local police. And the local police, in order to do research meetings with our team, but the entire writing team, to meet the police and then to go and look at the city, get a really good sense of the city, meet some locals who interact there, work with the police. And those relationships then, you're literally building on them. And with EITB, it was again a case of going to meet them very early days. They came on board, and then you're having ongoing conversations. Not that they have editorial say on the stuff, but you're sharing the scripts with them and you're getting their inputs. And a lot is about really just trying to understand the cultural context in which you're working. And then you're bringing it all together. So I think your role is, you know, a lot of prep. I really think that phrase, I think it's Roy Keane's, fail to prepare, prepare to fail, is really true in this. Co-production takes a long time. You're years at it, years at building the relationships. And there's very long preps. There can be quite long shoots and a long post and a long delivery because you're delivering to so many people. And my role as kind of creative producer, exec producer on the shows is to keep all the parties on side. And as the slide at the end of my clip showed, there's a lot of parties. But primarily it's RTÉ and Acorn. Screen Ireland, the Irish side of it, is kind of key to it.
And you were saying yesterday as we prepared for the session, being able to see round corners.
Yeah, it's an awful lot easier to try and address problems before they actually happen. And you're always going to have problems. And probably over half those problems are people related. And when you're dealing with people who you're working with on a particular project but you haven't worked with them before, you need to try and suss out, well, you know, what exactly is people's roles, who's responsible for certain aspects, and get it out in the early doors. You don't just assume that what you did in one show is going to happen at this show. So try and, as you say, pre-preparing, try and actually talk through the process. And it's both financially and then creatively. And they're different conversations. But then keeping everyone, you know, on the bus going in the same direction. And if somebody's on the bus that shouldn't be there, get them off fast.
And you do all this before the lawyers become involved?
Yeah, I mean, a lawyer, you send them, you know, a contract for review, or you send them with instructions to draft. They will always justify their existence. So I find what you've got to try and do is tell them what you want, not what they think you want. They'll always give you an opinion.
And what about the interpretations in laws in different countries? How do you resolve that?
Luckily, we've been dealing a lot with Canada, US, UK, Germany, and I think there's a lot of common law there. We're early doors on a Spanish-Irish co-production about a story in Belfast, and just definitions in Spanish law versus definitions in Irish law have caused a couple of things to get, you know, ruffled, and trying to clear an understanding. You know, there was absolutely no issue, but the lawyer representing the Spanish company had a particular issue on some of the legal definitions on this side. There was no issue. It was an understanding about, you know, just language.
So I guess you need a lot of patience when you're dealing with other countries, different cultures, working practices.
You're asking me if I need patience. I think probably the frustration, you know, we're on our third now, and probably where the most frustration comes is at contracting stage, because it just takes so long, you know, compared to the ordinary productions that we would be doing, maybe with, you know, TG Carr and the ILBF. There's two bodies there, we get it funded. When the more funders you bring in, everybody's got their own requirements, they're all different, and everything comes back. We're the middleman, so it tends to be, one partner will come back and say, a draft will go out, they'll say, no, we can't have that, come back to us, we can't have that. You need to go back to them and say, we can't do that. You'll go back to them, they'll say, well, we can't do that. And we're in the middle, and we're another month in, and we're another month in. And I think probably something that might be beneficial in projects like this, that are, like, this is our third, and it's really the same as the second, the same as the first, but maybe more funders or different funders on board. But, you know, if there was a way that we could have some terms of agreement beforehand to say, here are the basic things that we all need to agree to before we get down to the nitty-gritty of the contract. It just, to speed things up for us, because, you know, we come to a stage where ready to film or sometimes started filming, even though we shouldn't say we should start before the contracts are there. But, you know, by the time you have your contract sorted, you know, and the more partners that are on board, the more we see that. I think that's probably, you know, the frustration where we have. Now, we have the added thing as well with different languages, because we will do an Irish language version, and with the different projects we've done, we might have a Welsh version and a Gaelic version, and also the broadcasters. Like, we have great support from TG Cahir, BBC and I were on board. The Irish Language Broadcast Fund, we couldn't do without them. They support us so well in everything that we do. But again, the requirements of the broadcasters for, if we were doing shows like we've seen there without presenters, it would be so much easier, because you could just do one version and then just voice them. But the broadcasters in Ireland want presenters. And really, I suppose we've learned over the time, rightly so, because otherwise it looks a bit like an acquisition. You could have just bought for far less. They wanted to feel like it's very Irish. We've put money in so that it feels like it's. So there's a lot of tweaks around that. It's quite challenging but I think, you know, they've got better, I think, over time. It's just when you have 3 presenters and you have to do versions with presenter and versions without, and you're getting content from the other funders or the other production partners as well, it can be challenging, but I think we're learning as we go.
And Alberto, do you ever put yourself in the other party or people's shoes? You know, think of them.
Yeah, I think it's mandatory to do that, because I've done co-production as a minority producer, majority producer. This last one was equal producers, was a 50-50. And at the end, it doesn't mind where you stand. The thing is, even if you are the majority co-producer, you have to take into account the other party. So it's in negotiations. I like to do negotiations with a paper in front of me, just to draft the contract, to foresee what will happen. We were discussing that yesterday. It's like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And what I look for in a co-producer is, it's a new thing that I learned. I thought that the most important thing is communication and cooperation. So we are all on board. We have one target. But recently I learned that it's generosity, the thing that makes it work, at least for me. So when you are drafting these legal contracts, and what happens if this happens? What happens if your funding disappears? Or if my funding disappears? There you have to step up and say, okay, I'll cover that for you, because problems will arise, and we will be facing a situation that either it is in the contract or is very difficult to overcome. And you don't want it happened to us with this one, that part of the Portuguese financing was not reached, and we were already shooting. So what do we do? And it was not in the contract, and then it required generosity from our side, and it was difficult for me to convince the other my colleague. So yeah, I would say yeah, it's very important to put yourself in the feet of the other, in the shoes of the other. It doesn't matter if you're the majority or a minority co-producer, because you are all on board, and both are necessary.
And Siobhán, in this day of ease of communication with Zoom and WhatsApp, how important is that personal touch, meeting people?
Absolutely. I think finding your partner is so important, and so I would really recommend people, if you do courses like IAVE, that can be really useful in your training, just to be in contact with other Europeans and see how they work and get a better understanding of it. Certainly if you're going to co-produce at the European level, that's a really important and a good way in. We in our shows have had introductions via banks, as in the bank recommended Kino that we worked in Belgium. And so it really, you can find your partners in many ways, but I think you do need to spend time with people, and you do need to tease things out of people. And as you say, not so much that you're going to check out every scenario, but when you talk through your project, you get a better understanding. And terms mean different things, like executive producer means it's more like a line producer in some countries. So it depends a little bit on just your own experience and your own exposure to the culture. But I really think you need to go out and meet people and you need to do the Zoom calls as well as for follow-up. And of course, at one level you do, at one hand you do, or one level rather, you do the meetings that are at exec producer level where you're doing all the financing, but then there's the rollout at when you're producing the shows, and those relationships become very important. To go back out again, meeting all of those people who are actually going to roll the show out with you on the ground. So talking, listening, watching, yeah, all the things I suppose we're doing all the time. But yeah,
you got the recommendation from Kofi Wazir about your Belgium co-producer. I was saying I find it fascinating that I don't get asked about either staff or partners enough. I've spent my time asking people, you know, how did that work out? What were they like? Because it's so important to have the right people and know, you know, any upsides and downsides. And I always think when you're approaching a co-production, you have to know what value you're bringing. You know, there has to be a real value add. You just can't do it because somebody asks you to do it, or you can't just jump into something because you think it's a good idea. You really have to be able to add some value. And equally, anybody coming into the project have to be adding value and not, you know, contradicting or duplicating. You need, you know, to complete the full picture. So if you're light on something, you know, are they bringing that, et cetera, and try and get things that then it feels like hand in glove co-production. But I'm a big believer in you can't do co-production on Zoom. So you do have to rack up air miles.
And I think you have to trust the people that you're working alongside as well. You know, that we're working with really good companies, but you realise when the productions like that, there's the pre-production stage is so much longer, because with series like that we're all bringing in elements to the one documentary, and all of our series were 3 1 hours. You need to be able to work well with, so that it doesn't feel like that package is just shoehorned into, and it doesn't look like it fits. But you have to, I'm a bit of a control freak, so when I'm doing a project for the company itself, I'm across absolutely everything. But when you're dependent on other partners to do some of the work and bring it in, and that you want it to be at the same quality, and you know that if you have a series director that you know is across all content, that it feels like it's a flow. You know, with ours, it just, you don't want something to say that just came in from China and it's sitting in the middle of that program and it looks, you know. And I think over years, the one we're doing now on Mountains, there's, you know, a kind of a series director that's across everything to just ensure that it all flows. Now, it's not done yet, so I don't know if that's going to work, but you kind of learn as you go.
And you mentioned distributors at the beginning. Any advice on distributors? Is it the deal or is it the people you're dealing with?
I think obviously they have to be resourced. You know, we do both feature film and TV drama. Unfortunately, European independent feature film is struggling at the moment. It's really difficult. Some of the smaller sales agents had a really tough time post-COVID. So really drilling down into their financial capabilities and track record is critical. They could be the nicest people in the world, but the market hasn't been kind, and you need to know what part of the pool you're diving into. So it's really tricky. TV drama series distributors, we're very lucky in this part of the world because a lot of them are headquartered in London. And again, getting to know them over a period of time, them getting to know you. Some, you know, distributors will have, you know, a very good track record in a particular type of genre, and actually asking them what's missing in their catalogue. But you don't want to be as, you know, very small product in a very large catalogue. It's not priority at market, you know, and you don't want to be lumped in, like as we have been, where output deals are being done by major distributors, and you know half the sales are only as a result of an output deal. That's not necessarily going to be a long-term play for a show if it's just bought as a package. So trying to get that, you know, conversation going at the early part. It's not just about the money, it's about getting the right money to drive the project.
We have 4 minutes left. Would there anybody like to ask a question? Anybody?
Since I don't see any hands, I wanted to, because I was thinking, for me, as I said, co-production, the co-producer, it has to work on a personal level, but for distributor, it's just, for me, it's a numerical question. What is the track record and what is the minimum guaranteed? So they show how much they like this product by a minimum guaranteed. So I don't care so much about the person I'm talking to. I just care about the company, and they reflect how much they believe in the project with a minimum guaranteed. So,
if you can try and finance, though, and reduce that MG as much as possible, because you want to get the profit too as well. And the bigger the MG, the less likelihood you're ever going to see profit. Distributors are past masters at maximising costs.
Okay, we have one question over here.
Philip McGovern from Big Mountain. We haven't done any co-productions. I think we got a bit scared at the start when we were first back to go to Canada under the international programme by TRC. And the first thing the tax people said to us over there, this is years ago, is allow 10% on top of your budget to have double budgets, double production managers. This is reality shows. So I can imagine for you guys putting together, especially more and more partners, how much is the cost of putting the production together to get the money in? And is there a point you say, I have to stop because that's too dear money and it's too creative demanding, even though it might be only 10% of the completion money, and that completion money might be hugely more important than the 80% you first got. I'm sure there's lots of, and then not to get into the creative then, who has final cut, who has final say on casting?
Okay.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Well, I'll take that just on hidden assets. So in our case, final say in casting and cut is done with RTE and Acorn, and DCD to some extent, but it's primarily RTE and Acorn. They have final say in cut. But the partnership, there is always an issue about how many partners. And I have to say, at 3 countries, for me, shooting across 3 countries, that's my maximum. I really would prefer not to repeat it again. It's 3 languages as well. It's really complicated, and 3 sets of line producers, and 3 sets of production managers, and 3 sets of everything, and it's quite a task. And there are, of course, those questions: what are we actually getting for this? Now, in the case of season 3, it really needed Spain. We had set the story in Spain. We originally were going to go to Malaga, but then RT were very keen. Maybe not Malaga, South Spain. Cab goes to South Spain a lot. Maybe let's do Spain, but let's do northern Spain. And it was interesting, having gone to northern Spain for the writers' room, I came back with a note in 23 before we shot in 25, which was every week, and we'd committed to northern Spain. We were going there. Is that they thought Irish Jordan was going to see blue skies, and having spent 5 days in Bilbao, it rained for 4 of them, and we had 1. And it was torrential rain. You could hardly go outside the front door. I may as well have gone to Kerry to shot the show. So you're managing all of those expectations as well in terms of what you're delivering. But to come back to, yes, there is definitely a question about the cost of finance, cost of the monies, the tax, and all of that. It
has to work on the story first. Yeah. Story first, story last.
Yeah.
The finance bit, it has to work too, but you're not going to make the co-production work just because of money.
Yeah.
In my experience, it grows exponentially, the need of documentation and communication as soon as another one enters. So 2 is okay, 3 is starting to get difficult, 4 is already a nightmare because you have to sit everybody at the table, and every minuscule change is a lot of documentation that you have to review. And so I guess on board as many as you want, but you will see soon that it becomes almost impossible.
And there's always the chance that one of them is going to fall, because that we've been trying to get mountains on the go since mountains arrived in the world. But you think you've got a finance plan and it's all ready to go and everybody's in agreement, and then somebody drops out and you're starting all over again, and that you're starting again. And we're so lucky with the broadcasters that they've backed it, like TG Cahir on this, and it's like we're waiting for them to say, right, that's it, we're not going any further. We just change the model, we hone it down, and it's still with S4C on board as well, and it's just, but as you say, you've one model and then you've built a budget to that, and then suddenly somebody drops out and you have to say, well, where are we going to lose? And sometimes you wonder why you're doing it at all, but...
Okay, well, thank you. The clock has finished. But hope you've all enjoyed the session, and please give a big thanks to the panel.
Sorry for that.
Thank you very much.